Greetings, all. Well, the rain has finally returned to something more normal. Okay, we're starting to get that kind of precipitation that we're used to, where it's raining almost every day or every other day or so. I've received over 1.5 inches in the last 24 hours here. And the pond back there right over my shoulder has been full to capacity and has gone over the top several times through the siphon now. During the 3 weeks where we didn't receive any water, the pool had turned very green. It is filled with 25 little tilapia fish. They were put in there in late summer this year. Swapped pineapples for them to a lady that raises tilapia. They're doing fine. We haven't lost a single fish. These are really good, tough fishes. I haven't done anything special for them. What we have here is a 300-gallon Rubbermaid stock pond. It's used for, watering your cows, basically, is what these things are designed for. They're durable, they're UV stable. I am not an advocate myself of in-ground ponds around here generally. For starters, any pond that's down at ground level is going to draw cane toads when it comes to breeding to the point that they will deafen you. I've seen it happen in several locations where people built their ponds at ground level. With the elevated pools like this, the toads just can't go in there. They can't get that high up and start breeding in the pool. So we don't get the roaring sound all night long from the toads. One advantage. Another advantage to the above ground pool is these have a drain plug. So if I want to clean the pool out, all I got to do is pull the plug, clean things out, put the plug back in, and let it refill. If I have it out in the field someplace and I want to clean it out, I'm going to have to pump it dry and then try to scrape the muck out of the bottom. That's not as easy. If you got the kind of situation like they do on some of the catfish farms down in Mississippi and stuff, where they're on red adobe, and that'll seal the pool, so when they're done with the fish, they can go through with a tractor and a scraper, and they can scrape the sludge off the bottom. But here we have to line everything. Whatever you're using, you have to line a pool. You're just not going to be able to dig a hole in the ground around here, if you can dig a hole in the ground around here, and have it hold water. The lava, the soil, the cinders, everything we have the island's made out of, it tends to drain really, really fast. That's no exception here on my soil. So if you're trying to hold water in a spot, you're going to need a container or a liner. A lot of us use EPDM rubber. There you dig the hole and line it, I've used it before at above ground pools where I use concrete retaining wall blocks, and built retaining walls and then put the liners on the inside. I've opted for the Rubbermaid tank solution over here because it's cheap, easy, portable. If I have to clean it out and move it, I can pick it up, drag it around all by myself. So it's very, very convenient situation. Now the tank is plumbed to the roof. Okay, well, it's catchment, and out there on the other end, that white pipe is a It's a siphon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually a siphon that will take the overflow and keeps the pond always at that level, so it doesn't go over the rim. And we got about 25 fish in there. I didn't count them when we threw the bucket in, but according to what I can find on the web, 25 tilapia really should raise up in as little as 150 gallons of water. Pretty tolerant to crowding, apparently. That's why they use them the way they do. We have 300 gallons, and so there's just about double the amount of water in that tank that they supposedly need. We're going to find out about all this. So far, I haven't had any problems with a lack of oxygen. I've had no problems whatsoever with buildup of nutrient like ammonia. We've gotten enough fish waste in there in the past that it turned pretty green. But with our general rainfall around here, most of the time the pond stays pretty darn clear just because it's always being recharged with brand new rainwater. Fish don't seem to mind. Again, this is a brand new experiment for me. I've been around fish, raising fish, catching fish, whatever. I've been involved in aquatic things since I was a small boy, knee high to a bluefin tuna, I had aquariums as a boy. I was young when I got my fishing pole, and went out after them in the wild, in the filthy lagoons in the Park District in Chicago, where there was nothing but algae and crawdads, carp. Yeah, so life moved on. I had bigger and bigger tanks in the basement and in the house, and eventually I built myself a 2.5-acre bass pond in Wisconsin, and there we did have adobe at the bottom, and so I was able to have the pond sealed naturally. We stocked that with bluegills and bass. Yeah. I also had to plant it out, too, because the clay would just get into the water and just suspend itself and everything turned red. I remember having that problem. We had dug this pond. It was designed as a sky pond. It was at the base of a hill, and so that runoff from rain, runoff from snow melt, and so on was to fill the pond up. As we got down to 16 feet in the bottom of the pond with the dozer, we did hit a layer of red sand that was water-bearing below the adobe, and the water started coming up on us. So the pond filled both from groundwater and from surface water. It had the best of both worlds. But winter came, pond froze over. Once spring came around, it opened up when the ice melted, just clear like glass. I was so pleased. And then the first gust of wind come by. And it just went ahead and turned red. I couldn't see a thing in it. It started sloshing, and it just beat all the mud up in the bottom of the pool. I went to a buddy of mine who's a lake scientist, lignologist with the EPA, and I went, "Hey, Big Wally, my pond looks like heck. It's all muddy. What do I do with it?" Wally goes, "Oh, man, you got to fertilize your pond." "Fertilize my pond? How do I do that? Throw fertilizer in it?" He says, "Get yourself some ducks." All right. So I went and I got myself, maybe about a dozen Muscovies, that was with the red stuff here that whistle. I tossed them out there on the pond, and they start swimming around, and growing, and next thing you know, they're breeding, and eventually a dozen Muscovy turned into about 75 ducks within the year, and that pool just turned green as pea soup. Oh, my goodness. It was all the duck poop. Yeah, all that duck poop, and it fertilized the bottom of the pond. The algae started growing down there, and bacteria on the duck poop, and it sealed the clay. I coated algae over the clay so it didn't slosh around. Well, the coyotes solved my problem when I went trout fishing in Wyoming for a couple of weeks. When I came back home, I had one scared duck hiding in the woods, and the rest was carnage. A whole herd of coyotes had come in and got my ducks. Brought that one poor last duck up to the chicken coop. He lived with the chickens the rest of his life. I thought I was going to have duck soup, but anyhow, it worked out. That went in. I started planting. I'd go out and I'd harvest, reeds from the local environment. I'd get wild water lilies, and I'd go out with my canoe and get different aquatic plants from the local lakes. Put that stuff in there. It worked out pretty well in the long run. Well, later on in California, I started using above ground pools, something on the order of this one when I was in the nursery, because we sold koi. Yeah, like koi, and we had water plants and such, and so we had above ground tanks that held the koi. And later on, when we stopped selling koi, I moved everything over to my house. So I raised them above ground there. Despite the fact everybody loves that natural look of having the pool in the ground, and I understand why, I'm more pragmatic about it, and I really like my pools above ground. It's just so much easier. And since, well, these fish, they're not here for ornament. You know, I've named them panko, breadcrumb, fillet, you know, right? Yeah, gumbo. They all got names related to heading into the kitchen, because that's really what they're there for. I don't want to get too personal with them. The other tank over here is full of water plants. Now, Ellen collects water lilies and stuff like that, and she's got a good crop of papyrus. And yeah, there's Ellen's pool over there. There's a few water lilies blooming in it. She's got some scaevola. Oh, I see we got bladderwort all over in the pond. She didn't intend that one. That one's actually an insect eater. Well, it eats daphnia, mostly water fleas. Yeah, pretty interesting plant. It's got little bubbles, little bladders down there on the root system that floats in the pond, and got a hair trigger like a Venus flytrap, and the daphnia gets near it, hits that little hair trigger, the flap pops open, there's air in there, so you got a vacuum, sucks that little daphnia inside the bladder and then digests it. She didn't plant that. It came in with the papyrus, I think. And as usual, who's here but Gracie Cat, right? Gracie Cat shows up whenever I'm doing videos just to get involved in things. She wants to be near us. So for those of you who like to see Gracie, here she is. I don't always mention it, but if I'm shooting a video and you see me dip my shoulder, I'm probably reaching down to pet Gracie because she's coming through. Yeah, she's almost always right around here somewhere. I'm understanding that the tilapia are very, very flexible as far as what you can feed them with. I was looking at information here from the University of Hawaii, and they were talking about using sweet potato waste. They were using coffee waste. Apparently they'll eat almost anything. I've been lazy and not wanting to experiment much, and so they are getting floating koi pellets. Yeah, regular commercial fish food made by Tetra Pak. They seem to like it. Yeah, they're doing all right with it. It isn't that expensive. I bought it by the 10-pound sacks. We'll see how long a 10-pound sack lasts. But for now, it should work out, because at least being a all-purpose sort of commercial type fish food, I can eliminate the fact that my fish are starving or have a nutrient deficiency if something goes wrong. They're being fed fine. Yeah, I didn't start off that way. At first, I'm thinking, I hear these things will eat algae and whatever. Let's see what happens. Well, and one of the ladies I know in Oahu, Ami, who does aquaculture, she had said, well, if you feed them, they grow a whole lot faster. You can harvest in 10 months or 12 months or something on this order. I said, oh, all right, well, I guess I'll feed. The only negatives to feeding was that once I started feeding, my algae problems really increased. Mostly what I get, though, is the free-floating pea soup stuff, and I even think it's in some of the food, because some of the flake I had here indicates it had spirulina algae in there for the fish. So I think some of what they don't eat, it blooms. Anyhow, no big thing. It doesn't seem to bother the fish. It's just on occasion I can't see anybody out there in the pool. But this is working so far for a man with complete ignorance on the subject. I have not gone and read a book on tilapia over the years. I've done plenty of looking at aquaculture. University of Hawaii, Hilo, is now known as the hot spot in the United States of America if you wish to study aquaculture in school. Yeah, we're the place. So here I am on top of the hotbed of knowledge on fish culture, and I'm not paying any attention to it. That's not unusual. I have asked questions of the right people at the right time, I guess. So far, all the fish are healthy and happy. Must be doing something right. Well, without actually sticking a camera down under the water, it's kind of hard to see these guys. But let's see if we can raise them up. Well, there you can see the ripples out in the pond. Proof positive that there are actually fish down there. And hard to photograph them. Water reflects the light, bounces off. But yeah, they're doing pretty good. I had to pull the camera in, though. It started raining again. I've been sitting here where it's dry, just under the eve of the lanai. Isn't that right, Gracie? Huh? Is that one good place to sit when it's raining and watch the lizards and the mice and the birds, ain't it? Huh? Yeah, she likes it there. Then one of the big reasons I think she came here to the house asking for help. So she was permitted to use my front porch. Yeah, it is currently our front porch. Ellen's taken off. She's over in California. Mom's birthday. They're moving her out of the house, selling Mom's house. Ellen's going through her boxes of keepsakes and things, that have been in there for years now, and see what she wants and doesn't want, apparently, before the house goes away. Yep. So it's just me and Gracie here. And, well, I've been spending more time talking to the cat since there's nobody else around, right, Grace? And realizing, she listens to me pretty good. I was surprised. And I told her last night, Gracie, it's time to come on inside, come on. And she looked at me from the railing and she says, I have to. Jumps down and comes over, and I had to pick her up and put her in the door because she was questioning whether it was necessary. And I swear that meow said, I have to. Yeah. Well, this morning she got up a little early and I went to the bathroom, and I came back and told her, too early, Gracie, come on. You gotta go back to bed. You're up too early. And I pointed towards the bed, and sure enough, she didn't ask me any questions. She just jumped up there and collapsed on the bed again. She said, well, I'm too early. She understands so much sometimes. It kind of blows my mind. Of course, I talk to her constantly. My effort is that we teach Gracie English. And she's doing pretty good at it. Right? Say hello to everybody. She's still a little bit damp. I tried to dry her off when she came in today. And I see that my cat is still wet, right? Huh? He's still wet. Now that you have Bill to dry you off, huh? The poo cat isn't always soaking wet. Aloha, folks. Me, Gracie, and the tilapia. I'll see you later, huh?